These were interesting because the first two I started in a certain start position, thinking that it would be a better start position tactically. I found the first two games I was really boxed in, and so the third game Goopy changed his start position to be mirroring my start position, and I won that game, and Goopy said that start position felt absolutely horrible. So yeah, down here in the right corner of the map, the idea of that was such that I could get to these metal extractors faster, and hypothetically, I'd have better map control than what I got over here. But I think how things played out, I'd get to here, and Goopy would get to there, and he would control everything that side of that line, because he's not stopping at metal extractors on the way. So he gets further forward faster and ends up controlling more of the map. The other thing I found is that having this hill here right beside the base made it very difficult to micro around, and so I'd let raids in. So Groupie's gone very hard for energy straight off the bat, so he definitely has that advantage over me. It's 6 wind generators versus 7, 8, so it's about even. And I push out ticks while he pushes out a constructor. I'm thinking it might be a better move to push out the constructor first, because by the time the ticks get over to his base, he's got an AK out anyway to deal with the ticks, and so one AK and one commander kind of covers the map, and then frees him to expand with the constructor. I must have idled for a bit or something, because I've had that constructor out really slowly. Not only that, he's got an energy advantage, so I'm not sure what happened there. I might have idled for a while. Anyway, now I push out peewees, and overall I reckon I'm too aggressive with those fleas. The other thing I do is that was fine, because what I essentially did there was I boxed the AK between two peewees, but it's really easy for him to control both these areas at once, because he can just set a single army between them and then respond as necessary. Whereas to protect this and this, well, this is in the middle of the map, so it's harder to defend that. I have put out a radar there though, I don't remember doing that. But that's 6 peewees against 14 AKs. I think a significant part of Goopy's advantage here is he's sat his commander at the factory while I've put out a nano turret. And the significant issue is I've just walked that constructor out without sitting any units against that. Walked it straight out into his map control. So that was problematic. But so far, we're roughly equal. He's a metal extractor ahead, so that's fine. And I've got a bunch of reclaim I can take advantage of. What I don't have is energy, so it's probably too early to go for that second nano turret. That lack of energy is really a problem for me right now. 19 against 13. Okay. And again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull back those peewees and not pull back the constructor. I should have grouped those peewees at one end of his AKs instead of sending it line versus line. And building constructors right here is really problematic, considering that I've got AKs right in my base. But so far our metal extractor count is, he's ahead because I just lost one. But I've got all the metal in my base, so I guess that's okay. Definitely building extra constructors. I have too much build power for my metal income. That's fine. This is fine, but idle. That's 10 versus 5. Which will be 10 versus 6 in a moment. This commander probably should have walked forwards rather than back in order to expand my control. Like, defend that by, like, inference or something. Definitely should have reclaimed the K-bot when I went for vehicles. And probably should have started vehicles for the speed, honestly. So, what's that? 9 versus 13. So, you're still not that far ahead, and those peewees were just in the wrong position. So that wasn't actually that bad. The problem was simply sheer numbers of units. In terms of metal extractor count, initially I was fine. I just let him raid my base, so maybe that position wasn't as bad. We play another game on that and it's going to be equal arm versus arm, and then we'll see a third game where, yeah, he takes the same start position. And what'll happen here is I'll build far too many wind generators for the wind speed before the factory, which will give Goopy a tangible advantage on getting things out. Although I might be able to get a constructor out first if I go straight for the constructor, out of just sheer extra energy? No, probably not, and I don't go for the constructor first. I should go for the constructor first. I definitely have the time on this large of a map. And again, I go for a nano turret. Let's see how that goes. He immediately walks the constructor and just goes for bunches of fleas. I'm just heading for wind generators. We're both just focusing on wind generators right now. Probably shouldn't put a flea against the edge of the map. It would be better to bring it around there. Just scout out the back expansion for him. Sending something along the edge of the map is kind of asking to get trapped against the edge of the map. You can't run away. Probably should have only gone for like one constructor here. And then the commander can like build wind generators or something, and the factory just goes for pawns straight off the bat. And definitely need to have something behind. But yeah, I looks like I'm very decidedly going to stall here. And which means I won't have the metal to expand properly. So if I'm going for the nano turret, I can really only afford one constructor initially. Definitely can't afford another constructor now. I've already got plenty which can expand or something. And so... And then I lose nothing, which is okay. Should reclaim. Shouldn't idle the factory. But that's okay, that's okay. And so this is mostly even now. He's like one metal extractor ahead. Soon to be 2 metal extractors ahead, but I'll close that soon enough. We'll close it over here as well. And I do rather think I've got 7 pawns against just a few pawns from him. So if I can just quell these raids from him, because I do have a radar, and I'm just not responding, and these pawns are all waiting in the wrong position. They're not able to defend anything, because I'm setting them in the middle of nowhere rather than near what they need to defend. I also have no radar, so I can't see that raid coming in, which will take everything out. That hill is a big problem, but more of a problem was the fact that I just wasn't responding. Because at that point, I had the army that if I... Okay, what I should still be doing is I should be still be building ticks, because that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 metal extractors that could be dead to ticks, as well as noticing that at this point I have 14 pawns against 10. I could potentially push back on his map control rather significantly here. If I had a factory and being able to put out even more pawns, then I could potentially even go for his base. But no. And right here, I've got a severe resource disadvantage. I'm going to try to close it, but I can't put out units. I get the reclaim here by playing conservatively. But then I need energy, so I can't reclaim. I sent too much of my army up there. I only needed to send a fraction of it. And by sending all my army up here, it basically gave him control of this entire region of the map. And then there's a mistake in here where I've got... Oh no, that's fine. Okay, I just lose all my energy again by letting him run around. I was starting to pull back the front because I had the metal here. I had these Rocketeer to get rid of the laser towers, but then I just didn't have the energy to make use of all the resources I had from reclaim and stuff. In terms of stuff, I am like 1.6 metal behind, so he could have very much gone for my base here, but I'm just outnumbered and out-energied and out-resourced at this point. What's going to happen here is really poor vehicle micro, so I'm going to slow it down right down. I need to start going sideways before I get in range, because what's happened is I've come into range and then I start turning around. Whereas I need to be halfway turning around as soon as he gets in range, and that'll give him the opportunity to run away. And then I adjust and let him catch up even more. Okay. Then there's that, and then I drive towards him again. Okay. And now I'm just completely dead. Third game, one more game. And this one is the one where we have the same start positions, and this one I win, and I want to see why. It looks like with the metal extractors closer together, it's easier to protect them, but he's also just putting out more units than I am because I'm spending too much on constructors. So it's hard to gauge the start positions, which is what I was wanting to compare and see if the start positions were the problem, but it's starting to look like it was simply constructors. So constructors and me letting him raid me, so... Okay, his core again here. Again, both 2 wind generators for the factory. Constructor out first, and constructor out first. And then he just goes and builds AKs. Constructor out first, and I walk it immediately, which is a lot better here. I just don't walk the commander after I've walked the constructor. I'm Sort of raiding with fleas though. He didn't really try to defend this like he tried the... Like, because he was, like, setting AKs all around here in the first game. But he didn't set AKs around this game. I wonder if that's a psychological thing of the start position. This is also far too exposed. It's kind of a joke. Yeah, I shouldn't go out there unless I've got, like, the army to control it. Which is definitely a positive of having all these metal extractors right near each other. It's much easier to control it because it's right near the factory, rather than 1, 2, 3, 4 all spread out. This is all vulnerable to an AK coming through and taking that out, but fortunately I've put out the laser tower first. I don't have radar up there though. So again, he's got the resource advantage because I basically left myself bare and open to raiding. It's also open to raiding. I'm not using fleas as much as I should be, again, in this game. But then he's also sort of stopped raiding, which is interesting. I have enough radar to know that his entire army is basically down here. So I start raiding and I pull out, which is good. Instead of engaging, I just pull out, and I'm just taking advantage of the fact that his army is all in one location. And finally, I did some raiding with Jeffy, which is good. Up here, these Rocketeers should have walked up this way and pressured that way. I probably should have also spared a constructor to come up here and assist this constructor, just to close off up there, and deal with that commander which is pushing. Probably could have afforded to throw up static defense on this side because he's very focused on it. There's a bunch of wrecks there. And I'm just opting to do it with my army. I need to keep the stumpies and the AKs and stuff together. But yeah, I get the reclaim, and that allows me to put everything into stuff. Winning the battle and controlling it allows me to split my army across the map. I think it was the reclaim that did that one. It wasn't so much the start positions or anything. Yeah. GG.